Beggar hugs Millionaire and says, "You're my son." When the DNA results show up, he was shocked. The sidewalk outside the dealership buzzed with attention. A brand new yellow sports car shimmered in the sunlight. Reporters had gathered, influencers whispered, and assistants snapped photos as Julian Hayes, dressed in a crisp maroon suit, stepped out of the showroom with the poise of someone who owned every inch of his world. At just 26, he had done the impossible. Risen from foster care to tech stardom, launching a startup that sold for 8 figures before his 25th birthday. He was polished, composed, alone, but admired. Then came the scream, "My son." Everyone turned. An elderly black woman, barefoot and shaking, pushed through the growing crowd. Her clothes were worn thin, stained and faded. Her grey streaked hair was pulled back in a messy twist. She looked exhausted, starved and yet determined, like nothing could stop her. She stumbled straight into Julian, and before anyone could react, wrapped her arms around him, pressing her cheek into his chest. Julian froze. The flash of phones intensified. Her body shook as she cried, "You're my boy. You're him. I know those eyes. I know them." Julian's mouth opened slightly, confused. "Ma'am, I think you're mistaken." But she didn't let go. "They took you from me. You were just a baby. My baby." Her voice cracked. "I never stopped. Searching. Not once. You look just like your father. They said you were gone forever, but I knew you were alive. I knew I'd find you." Security approached, trying to intervene, but Julian raised a hand, his face pale. The woman sobbed harder. "Your name was Emmanuel. I named you after my grandfather. They took you when I couldn't afford milk. Just one bad week, and they stole everything from me." People whispered behind their phones, "Is she serious? She's delusional. Why would a white millionaire be her son?" But Julian didn't speak. His body was stiff. His heart was pounding. And for reasons he couldn't explain, he felt something real. That night, he couldn't sleep. He replayed her words, her trembling hands, her desperation. He'd always known he was adopted, but the agency told him nothing. Sealed records, no trace. His parents were listed as deceased or unfit. That was it. No photos, no names. But the woman, she wasn't guessing. She felt it. He returned to the spot the next morning. She was sitting alone on the concrete back against the wall, holding something in her lap, a small crumpled photo and a broken locket. She looked up when she saw him. Her eyes widened, unsure if she should stand. "You came back," she whispered. "I want to talk," he said, sitting beside her. She held out the photo. It was almost too faded to see, but it showed a dark-skinned woman holding a baby in a hospital room. Julian stared at it. "That baby," she said, voice trembling, "was the last time I held you." His hand shook. "Why did they take me?" "I had no one. I was working 2 jobs. I left you with a neighbor for 2 hours and someone called CPS. They took you immediately. I fought in court, but couldn't afford a lawyer. They said I was unfit. Said you'd be better off without me." She wiped her eyes with her sleeve. "I tried to find you, but everything was sealed. Then one day, I saw you on the news. That suit, that car, and those eyes. You have his eyes." Your father's Julian looked down, lost in thought. "But I'm white. You're not." She nodded. "Your father was white, blonde, just like you. We met when I was cleaning. Offices downtown. Fell in love. He left when I got pregnant. I was left alone to raise you." Julian sat insolence. Everything he'd believed about his past, every assumption was cracking apart. Finally, he spoke. "Would you take a DNA test?" She nodded slowly. "I don't want money or fame. I just want to know if you're really mine and if I'm yours." He looked at her, broken, trembling, but never dishonest. And for the first time in his adult life, he wasn't sure who he really was. A test was arranged. a private laboratory high-speed processing. As he walked into the clinic 2 days later, he couldn't stop shaking. Not out of fear, but because some part of him hoped deep down that she was telling the truth. Because if she was, then he hadn't been alone all these years. After all, the envelope was heavier than it should have been. Julian sat alone in the clinic's private consultation room. The white walls were too clean, too sterile. On the table in front of him sat 2 small vials, the samples, one swabbed from his mouth, the other from hers. The woman who claimed to be his mother, the woman who looked nothing like him, the woman whose hug still hadn't left his chest. The door opened. A geneticist entered quietly and handed him a single-page result. Julian's eyes scanned it quickly, almost afraid to look at the number at the bottom. Parentage probability, 99%. His breath hitched, everything blurred. She was telling the truth. The woman on the street, the barefoot beggar everyone ignored, laughed at, dismissed, was his biological mother. Later that afternoon he found her sitting in the same spot outside the dealership, right where it had all started. She had a blanket over. Her shoulders now and her hands trembled as she counted a few coins in her palm. She didn't notice him approach until Heck knelt down beside her. She looked up, startled. Julian. He held up the paper, folded neatly. I know now. Her eyes filled instantly. You're my mother, he whispered. I'm your son. She pressed her hands to her mouth, the paper trembling in his grip. Tears streamed down her cheeks, but she didn't speak. She couldn't. She reached for him. This time, he hugged her back without hesitation, and for the first time in his life, Julian felt what he had never felt before. Home. The media caught on within. Hours. Photos of Julian walking hand in hand with Clara Matthews spread like wildfire. Some tabloids mocked it. Some called it a publicity stunt. But the DNA confirmation was posted in full by Julian himself. His caption read, "This is my mother. She didn't abandon me. The world did." What followed was more than just news. Julian did something no one expected. He didn't just give Clara a home, he gave her back her dignity. She moved into his penthouse temporarily, but it wasn't pity, it was reunion. She was given medical care, proper clothes, and space to heal from decades of grief. And when asked in an interview what he was most angry about, Julian answered plainly that no one believed her, that poverty made her invisible, that the system stole me, then buried her alive with guilt, but most of all, that I walked this world, thinking I had no one when the one person who loved me most was out there suffering. Clara didn't ask for more, but Julian gave her everything. He built a community shelter in her name, the Clara Foundation, for mothers separated from their children and children raised without the truth. And in the office lobby hung a framed photo of her, eyes closed, crying the moment she hugged him for the first time. Below it, a quote from Julian. Not all angels wear white. Some wear tired eyes, torn clothes, and carry decades of pain. Clara never stopped calling him Emmanuel. He never asked her to stop. Because now he understood. He wasn't just Julian Hayes Mogul. He was Emmanuel, a son who'd been lost and found again. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more emotional, dramatic, and unexpected tales. And let us know in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? We love hearing from all of you. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and keep watching.